Hello everyone, I am Kiran Joshi. Hope you all are doing good. Children, here is the fourth video of Class 9 Civics, Chapter 2, Constitutional Design. Children, in the third video of this chapter, we learnt about the circumstances that formed the background for the making of our constitution. We learnt about the Constituent Assembly and some important leaders who played important role in making the constitution. Children, when we are talking about the constitutional design of India, one may have the question why to accept a constitution which was made by the Constituent Assembly more than 50 years ago? Then, children, there are some strong reasons for accepting this constitution. First reason is that the constitution is not a mere reflection of the thoughts or views of the members of the Constituent Assembly. The basic ideas of the constitution express the consensus of the common people. On the contrary, there are many countries in the world who have rewritten their constitution because all the major social groups or political parties there didn't accept the basic rules mentioned in their constitution. If the people don't agree with the basic rules, they don't follow the constitution and the constitution becomes only a piece of paper. But in our country, it is totally different. Yes, there have been many groups in the country who have questioned some provisions of the constitution. But no large social group or political party has ever doubted the lawfulness of the constitution itself. In this way, it is an extraordinary achievement of our constitution. The second reason for accepting the constitution is that the Constituent Assembly represented the people of India, as the members of the Constituent Assembly were the elected representatives. Some of you may argue that there was no universal adult franchise at that time, and so the Constituent Assembly was not chosen directly by all people of India, and so it was not a true representation of the people of India. Children, it is true that the Constituent Assembly was elected mainly by the members of the provincial legislatures. Still, it ensured that a fair geographical share of members was there and members from all the regions of the country were included. Children, in the previous video, when we learnt about some leaders who played important role in the making of the constitution, did you notice that they were from various regions of India? From West Bengal, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, etc. So most of the members of the Constituent Assembly belonged to Indian National Congress, the party that led the freedom struggle of India. But we must remember that the party, the Indian National Congress, included diverse political groups and opinions. Moreover, there were many members in the Constituent Assembly who did not agree with the Congress. Moreover, in social terms too, the Constituent Assembly had members from diverse language groups, castes, classes, religions, and occupations. It means that the composition of the Constituent Assembly would have been almost same if it was elected by universal adult franchise. The third reason for accepting the constitution is that the Constituent Assembly worked in such a manner that it gives great value, importance, and holiness to the constitution. The process of making the constitution by the Constituent Assembly was a systematic, open, and consensual process. The Constituent Assembly worked in various stages. First of all, some basic principles were decided and agreed upon. Once the basic principles were finalized, a drafting committee, which was chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, worked on drafting the constitution and prepared a draft constitution for discussion. Many rounds of detailed and extensive discussion took place on the draft constitution, and the members discussed clause by clause, step by step. As a result of the discussion, more than 2000 amendments were considered. For 114 days during the 3 years from 1946 to 1949, the members of the Constituent Assembly gave deep thought and consideration to the Constitution. All the activities in the Constituent Assembly, whether it was the presenting of a document or speaking of a word, all were recorded and preserved with the name Constituent Assembly Debates. These debates are printed on in 12 thick volumes. These debates provide sufficient justification for every provision of the Constitution. That means they justify the reasons why any provision is there in the Constitution. The Constituent Assembly debates are also useful to understand the meaning of the Constitution. Now, children, let's try to understand the philosophy our Constitution is based upon. There are two ways by which we can understand the philosophy of our Constitution. One way is to read the views of some leaders on the Constitution, and the other way is to find out what the Constitution says about its own philosophy. So, first we'll learn about the views of some of our major leaders on our Constitution. Children, when we talk about India and its freedom struggle, the first name that comes in our mind is Mahatma Gandhi. Though he was not a member of the Constituent Assembly, his vision and thinking was followed by many other members. He expressed his vision, his opinion on the Constitution long back while writing in his magazine Young India in 1931 in these words: I shall strive for a constitution which will release India from all thraldom and patronage. I shall work for an India in which the poorest shall feel that it is their country, in whose making they have an effective voice. An India in which there shall be no high class and low class of people. An India in which all communities shall live in perfect harmony. There can be no room in such an India for the curse of untouchability or the curse of the intoxicating drinks and drugs. Women will enjoy the same rights as men. I shall be satisfied with nothing else. Thus, he had dreamt of an India where equality existed in every sense, with no sign of untouchability or discrimination. Even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of Indian Constitution, also shared the idea of eliminating inequality. But he had a different understanding of how inequalities could be eliminated. He strongly criticized Mahatma Gandhi and his vision many a times, as he had doubts on the removal of inequality prevailing in the society. He spoke about his worries in his concluding speech that he gave to the Constituent Assembly, and he said, on the 26th of January 1950, we are going to enter a life of contradictions. In politics, we will have equality, and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. In politics, we will be recognizing the principle of one man, one vote, and one vote, one value. In our social and economic life, we shall, by reason of our social and economic structure, continue to deny the principle of one man, one value. How long shall we continue to live this life of contradictions? How long shall we continue to deny equality in our social and economic life? If we continue to deny it for long, we will do so only by putting our political democracy in peril. Now is the speech of our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. This is his famous speech which he gave to the Constituent Assembly at the stroke of midnight on August 15, 1947. Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance. It is fitting that all this solemn moment we take the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people and to the still larger cause of humanity. Freedom and power bring responsibility. The responsibility rests upon this assembly, a sovereign body representing the sovereign people of India. Before the birth of freedom, we have endured all the pains of labor, and our hearts are heavy with the memory of this sorrow. Some of those pains continue even now. Nevertheless, the past is over, and it is the future that beckons to us now. That future is not one of ease or resting, but of incessant striving, so that we may fulfill the pledges we have so often taken and the one we shall take today. The service of India means the service of the millions who suffer. It means the ending of poverty and ignorance, and disease and inequality of opportunity. The ambition of the greatest men of our generation has been to wipe every tear from every eye. That may be beyond us, but as long as there are tears and suffering, so long our work will not be over. In the above speech, Jawaharlal Nehru spoke about the challenges before the newly independent India and of the promises to be fulfilled uh, to the aspiration of the people of India. That's all for this video. Now there are some questions for you to revise the topic. First question: why should we accept the constitution made by the Constituent Assembly more than 60 years ago? Second question: write a short note on Mahatma Gandhi's vision for the Constitution of India. Third question: how did Dr. B.R. Ambedkar state his anxiety about the social and economic inequality in his speech? Fourth question: the manner in which the Constituent Assembly worked gives sanctity to the Constitution. Justify. So, children, if you liked this presentation and you found it helpful, do consider subscribing to the channel, and if you have any queries or comment, please post them in the comment section below. Thank you.